So often we don't want our dogs to go through the door before us. It's a safety issue for me. It has nothing to do with dominance or showing them who's boss. It is a safety issue. We don't want our dogs tripping us up, bolting out the door to the street, bolting out the door to greet somebody, get somebody. So better control and manners around the door is a very, very useful skill to teach our dogs. The first thing you want to be teaching, though, is to give you eye contact. And you've already done that work, hopefully, before you've gotten to this point, is teaching our dogs to give us direction, give us eye contact so we can give them direction. Now, in the past, often what people have done is we open the door, and I'll show you an example. I haven't asked Louis to do anything here. His cue wait is AKA a stay, but to wait until I give him direction, a cue. And this is often what we'll see. I'm not going to give it to him, and I want you to see what often is taught, and I'm going to change this. Good. So Louis knows, because we've done a lot of work in this area, that as you saw first, he wants to run in and go, and I close the door on him. That's essentially like saying, you're right, you're wrong. You're right, you're wrong. You're right, you're wrong. And that can be really, really frustrating for a dog. So I like to tell the dog, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right, right? Okay, so we don't. This can actually frustrate a dog, and this technique of opening and closing the door can actually slow the process down, okay, for training. What about if you were always told what you were doing was correct? I think that would move things along faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinforce Louis for standing at the door before I even open the door. I'm going to use my verbal marker today. A little anxious to get started. I'm going to be using my verbal marker today as well. I should add that I'm using a leash, or you could use a baby gate to prevent the dog from going out. So A, that's a safety issue when you're beginning the training process, and B, we want to set the dog up to succeed. So preventing the option of going through the door helps make the choice easier. So let's make it really easy and use our leash or a baby gate on the other side of the door, or a gate of some sort to prevent the dog from going through. Okay. Here. He's anxious to get started. Wait. Yes. So I'm reinforcing Louis for eye contact. But if you're just starting out and the door is a real issue, I would just reinforce heavily for standing in this position, for your dog to be standing or sitting in this location here. Start lower and slowly bring your way up. Yes. Who's giving me some eye contact? Yes. Wait. Yes. So I'm going to up the criteria, but putting my hand on the door. Yes. I'm reinforcing, looking at me, being in this position. Wait. Yes. Got a little eye contact there. Wait. Open the door slightly. Yes. So I'm reinforcing all the little baby steps. Yes. Wait. Wait. So here Louis went ahead. I obviously went too far, and now I'm just going to lure him back. Don't tug on the leash. I don't say no. I just lure him back, and I'm going to close the door. And now I know next time to increase the criteria slower or reinforce heavier, more often, more repetition in my reinforcement when the door is open just slightly. So now I'm going to open the door a little bit and reinforce. I'm going to go back because opening the door was too much, too wide, too much. Now I've just opened it a small amount and I'm going to reinforce. And this is something we're always doing in dog training, building behavior, adding criteria in small increments. So I'm asking Louis to be right where he is and not past the threshold of my feet. And this is where he must be for me to reinforce him. When that's going well and you've done multiple repetitions and your dog is holding the position, you can then add more. And I'm opening the door a little wider, and once again, he goes back out. So I'm going to change up the training here a little bit. Sometimes when things aren't going as you planned, a training plan is kind of going off the rails a little bit, like it was here with Louis. I've decided to come up with another idea. I don't want him passing the threshold of my feet, so I am going to now mark and reinforce staying at my feet when he comes into me. So this I do by setting up, by tossing food away. And when he comes up and stops at that threshold, using a hand target would help him, I'm going to mark and reinforce that. So this is another way to say, this is where you need to be before I open the door. In this scenario, Louis backs up and corrects himself. He realizes he can't go out, so he backs up. That was a great choice. I immediately marked and reinforced his choice for doing that. We call that capturing behavior. Anytime your dog does something you like that you haven't asked for, you can mark and reinforce that. That way you're capturing a natural behavior, a natural choice without a cue. So I'm going to do many repetitions. So maybe 10 repetitions of tossing food away. And when Louis comes up and stops, I'm going to reinforce his choice to stop at my threshold, which is my feet. Building this behavior takes many sessions, many repetitions per session, maximum 10. We keep our training sessions short and we just focus on one thing at a time. As it turns out, this is what I'm going to focus on here quite heavily because Louis needs to understand that he can't cross my feet to go to the door. Now, when we add people at the door, that's a whole different ballgame, but this is where we are beginning our training. He's got a nice weight, he's got great eye contact, that's the groundwork we've done, and now we're implementing them in this scenario where people are and really tough. Dogs either want to get people or they want to greet people. Very tough scenario at the doors. And I don't mind Louis looking out. I just don't want him to cross that threshold. He can look, he's curious, he wants to assess and see if something's there. When he's looking out, his mind is not with me. When he comes back to me, I reinforce that position and reinforce for checking in with me and making contact with me. He's looking and looks back. This is okay. And now that the door is open wider, I've increased the criteria, meaning I've increased the challenge for him. And now I'm going to start tossing food away and going back to the previous exercise, tossing food away and reinforcing his return to stop at my feet, even though the door is open. Now, after multiple repetitions in our training session, I'm now going to open the door wider. I'm going to increase the criteria, increase the challenge for him, and continue to do the food toss away, have him return and reinforcing position again. The door is wide open now, so let's see what happens. So now that I've done multiple repetitions holding the leash, I'm going to add a little more criteria in this exercise. I'm going to wrap the leash around Louis' neck there just to still have the leash on him, but I'm not holding it. And this is now how I'm going to increase the criteria. I would suggest that if you have any concerns that you would still block the door or use a baby gate so your dog can't go down the steps and into the yard or the street. Just as a safety measure as you gradually build the training exercise. I'm not blocking the door. If I was blocking the door, then I wouldn't be having the door open. The whole idea is to have him make a choice to stop at the threshold, which is at my feet or before my feet, and the door is open. He can move forward to the door. He's choosing not to because he will be reinforced, marked and reinforced for being at my feet. Training tips. This exercise has several elements to it and includes several steps. Your dog should have great eye contact with you and a good stay before you begin. Build in small increments, doing 10 repetitions for each training session. Do not move to the next step until your dog is performing what you want and doing so very well. Use a leash or baby gate to prevent your dog from going through the door and to help your dog make the right choices. When you add people at the door, go back to using the leash if you wish, because people at the door can be very exciting. Therefore, it makes it very difficult for your dog to perform previous behavior. When you do add people, make sure you give your dog more gold stars for doing less.